Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we've got quite the video on our hands today. Some could call it a thesis. And that's what the video creator, the content creator in charge of this one, has decided to name it. It's going to be a thesis, a paper for Arknight's Endfield's Gacha. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this shit is so goddamn complicated and convoluted. One of the most established CCs in the Arknight space has decided it needs a proper address. And so we've got quite the video. This guy even like opens up like code and shit too. It gets really nerdy, but I like to consider myself a translator. I think I'm pretty good at taking that nerdy content and making it a bit more digestible for a regular, not as enlightened audience. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And I'd rather take the words of somebody like Kuki Kaze, who's actually openly been a critic of this system. You can actually go ahead and see some of the takes that he's had, the sweet and sour of Arknight's Enfield's Gacha. And you want to know why I think he made this video? It's because of this comment over here. The Gacha system for Endfield has more depth than the combat system, which is insane. Real. So why don't we go ahead and from the guy who has this take, why don't we see what this system is all about and just how good and or bad it actually is. Let's get right on into it.
A new challenger is approaching. Let a representative of Arknights have a say in the Endfield Gacha. Or
I'm going to boost it up to 1.25. I don't think there's an issue with his pace, but it is a long video. I just want to see how listenable he is.
those Gacha content creators are sparring like it's the next World War, putting all the flowcharts, the mind maps, and meanwhile, I'm just chilling as an Arknights player, drinking away on my protein shake.
All right, solid start, solid start. Very accurate breakdown of the situation.
Here's the deal. I'm not here to join in on
But I love how throughout all that, he does actually just confirm that it is really complicated.
that fight. I haven't seen a single one of their videos or exactly read too deeply into any of the flowcharts. But instead, let me give you a very fresh perspective on how you can look at Enfield's Gacha. Now, I was actually filming this video yesterday as of this video, but I didn't quite like the first take at all. I took a full 5 hours, I happily filmed myself, and I just think to myself,
5 hours?
I'm not really offering anything new, right? Everyone's just drawing on their whiteboard, putting all the numbers, telling you this might be better, that might be worse, and then trying to make sense of the gacha, telling you what your behavior can be.
Okay, after all of that, I see how it's 5 hours now.
So I just thought to myself, what could I possibly do? Then, inspiration struck. A viewer named Honeydewbox asked me, why don't you just code everything? And then I thought to myself, oh yes, I'm a programmer. I
So he's a nerd.
graduated from university. Why did I just think of that to simplify everything better? You see that up there? That's me, suffering in code. That recording stream was 11 hours 30 minutes. And I still...
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, bro. This is... Simply listening to him talk about what he did is the funniest shit ever. I'm sorry, bro. He's just saying what he did. He's just saying what he did. And it was like, yeah... It took me over like 20 hours to make a video on the gacha system. And that was just the work, not even the editing.
started coding even the day after. I've totaled about 12 hours trying to figure out how to understand the various gacha systems there is. And I'm very happy to present that to you guys. This video isn't about an elaboration of how the gacha system works. I believe you've watched some other people's video. You can even watch mine, by the way. I had a video before this that even talks about it. But there are new systems in play also. Like for example, there is the urgent recruitment, right? 10 free pools when you pull 30 that you can use on the banner, but it doesn't affect guarantee. How the heck does that work? And then, one of the biggest changes that happened that I don't see other content creators bring up is the fact that weapon banners don't last for one character banner anymore. Instead, it will last for 3 banners long. So for instance, Levata's signature weapon will start from her banner all the way into Yvonne's banner.
Yep. And so what that means is it's way better to pull at the end of the version, even if you have Leviathan. Because you actually want to pull on it way past her version to make sure that, hey, maybe you actually got a Yvonne or a Gilberta too. So you kind of like know, right, like when to stop. Because it's a 25-75 in this game. Just so you know, it's a 25-75 on the weapon banner. There's a decent chance you might be able to get it early, but 25-75 still isn't amazing odds.
So you have a lot of time to proc up your pools. Gilberta's signature weapon, however, will not begin with Leviathan. It will only start when she appears, and again, also lasting 3 banner long.
Do you see what's going on? So, Gilberta's weapon won't be on the launch banner but it will be on the second one, and Surtur's weapon will be there too. And so if you wait until Yvonne's weapon to pull on the weapon banner, you have a chance to get all 3 of the signatures. But if you pull on only Leviathane's, you only have a chance to get hers. Do you see how that works? You're incentivized to wait until the end of the version when Yvonne's banner is out to roll on it.
It's a huge change to how weapon system works, and I really love it.
You're lowering your chances? Well, great. I already had a 25-75. And so I'm probably going to have to go to pity anyways because the rate is so low. I might as well wait until I have a chance to get 3 signatures if I'm going to pity anyways because it's a 25-75.
But I'll present to you better graphics to understand just how significant it can be. I'm not going to go so in detail as to how the codes work, but at least I'll give you the basic understanding so that you can later see how the results appear.
He makes an error in this video, but he does correct it in a future one, so we will make sure to address that.
But if you want to see the code for yourself, I have opened a GitHub repository. It's in the description of the video. You all can go into it, criticize it, assess it. If there are really problems with it, please let me know because I will feel really bad since I worked so much hours in order to see if it's okay. But I think it should largely stay fine, alright? It has all the different gacha gains proper system, accounting for extra copies of units, accounting for any sort of guarantee, any 50-50 lose system that it has in order to give you the numbers that you shall see later.
Okay, so this is just like a big
going
disclaimer
through the
piece.
systems that exist in Endfield, this is the character simulator. So it's 0.8% for a 6-star. If you don't get a 6-star by 65, that's your pity start, it's 66. It will increase by 5% every pool that you do. Maximum pity is 80, but you definitely won't hit 80. It's typically between 70 and 75. You'll see that later on.
Okay.
You're guaranteed a 6-star within 120 pools. So if you get it earlier, then the guarantee is gone. If by 120 you don't get it, then you will obtain the 6-star. But it will reset the PT counter.
Guys, I'm gonna be real over here. I know there are some people that are probably interested in this shit. I'm skipping the code. I just want to see the results. If you're upset by that, go watch the original video so you can see how this code is made. I'm going to trust the CC, and I'm going to trust the fact that people have fact-checked it, and that'll also point it out what's wrong with it. Okay? I will trust that people have dealt with it because there's been a follow-up. I'm also not this much of a fucking nerd.
Starting with the free-to-play, the character gacha. So this is a distribution graph of 10,000 different types of players, right? You can see that it kind of peaks at 120. A lot of the players are going to secure that 6-star. No one is going to go past 120. So the idea of this is you should definitely pool when you have more than 120 pools in your account.
Okay, so this is just kind of looking at, right? Clearly, there's a lot of people that are getting the 6-star on or near the soft pity, right? Which starts at 65. So you see the rate starting to go up, then it goes back down, right? Because people are on, they're done with the pity and they're moving on to the 120. Then by the time you get to the 120, it's guaranteed. It's 1,000,000%. There's no way to go above it. Yeah, that's fair.
Right, as a free-to-play. If you want to do it less, it's going to be a little bit risky. You do have a chance of winning early.
Yep.
But if you do lose, then you'll be needing the remaining pools to clock up to the character.
And if you don't have the remaining pulls, all those pulls that you put in up to that miss, they're disappearing and you're starting back at 0 for the next one.
So for every 10,000 people, about 3,400 will hit 120 PT, which is about a 1/3 chance that you need 120 pools.
Okay.
Then about 5,500 people will use 80 pools or under to get the first rate up. So it's almost like using the pity of getting a 6-star, and then you roll your 50-50, you get the on-banner 6-star.
Okay. Average pulls for the first rate up, 82. Median pulls, 74. Okay.
So if you don't have 120 pools going into the banner, so you're trying to weigh your chances on 60, 70 pools, right? You are just going to weigh on 55% of you getting the featured 6-star. If you do lose, then you need to somehow scramble to get the pools. If you
I guess the thing is that you have a raw 50% chance of getting on the on-banner character. I assume these calculations, there's a chance these calculations are factoring in you pulling on Yvonne's banner, right? Is it 55% because you're losing the off-chance pity, or you're winning the off-chance pity, but then getting Gilberta or a Surtur at the same time? Because I guess if I pull on Yvonne's banner, where Surtur and Gilberta are going to be available, is that why it's a 55, or is it just like a raw 55 on the 80?
win, then good job. You know, that's good for you. So it's possible, but not recommended as a decision for a free-to-play player to make.
Yeah, because I would assume it's a 50% chance, because you got a just like raw 50, right, to get it? Because on the 80, it's a 50-50, right, on just regular pity. But I guess it's consolidated 55. All right.
Not a bad thing that you save 120 pools also.
Those odds aren't very good, though. And I don't think a lot of people are going to go with, I'll go to 70, go for a 55-45, but if I lose 70 pulls. Most people aren't going to do that, but some will. And the people that do and then don't win, they'll quit the game. So yeah, this game has a very easy quit angle, even if you are taking calculated risks. Because, yeah, it's a 55% chance, I guess, at the 65, 70, 80 mark. But boy, oh boy, you got a lot to lose.
Because as you see from the graph, you could get it anywhere earlier. Not just within this peak, you can get it maybe in 20 pools.
Ah, so that's where the 55 is coming from. Okay, consolidated. So the actual odds of getting a limited unit, if you pull on Yvonne's banner, right, is a bit higher. And this is the dynamic that I'm going to just explain real fast. In Endfield, on release, characters will rejoin the 50-50 loss pool after their banner is expired. And so, for some reason, they're bringing forward these two characters early. But your actual odds of getting a limited unit on that first 80 pull, right? The one that we're saying is 55%. It's actually going to be higher than 55% just to get a limited unit. Because you have a chance of getting Yvonne or Gilberta before their banner arrives. So, rerolling is actually better odds here because of that. Because, well, you got the 50-50 for Surtur, but then you also got, there's 5 standard units. You got the 2 out of 5, 2 out of 7 chance on losing a 50-50 to get one of these guys instead. So, I guess that's some could say that's good, some could say that's bad, but it is what it is.
In 40 pools. If you do get it earlier, you're saving your pools for the subsequent banners, which is good because it means you have more stock of 120 again going into later on.
Yep.
On average, the number of pools that it takes for you to get the rate up unit will be 80 pools. So it's not every banner that you hit 120. Sometimes you're going to get banners where you get it in less pools, you go hoorah, let's go, more savings for later. But of course, you'll experience times that you go even further.
And then you'll also have those worst case scenarios where you win pity multiple times in a row, but you lose 50-50 each time. You also have those situations where on your journey to 120, you lose 3 50-50s in a row.
When you hit 80 pools, you're expected to get about 25 to 30 weapon rolls at this amount.
25 to 30 weapon rolls every 80 pulls.
Because you're going to get a lot of 5 stars, you get 1 or 2 6-star, that's going to help you to stock up. That might not be sufficient for you to guarantee the weapon, we'll see it later on. At 120, however, if you pull all the way to the guarantee, you're expected to get 40 weapon rolls.
Okay.
Now, this statistic is just to bring up a point that people were talking about how you can lose a lot of 50-50 before you get the actual character. It can happen, but it is pretty rare.
True. But that still sucks.
So this is calculating how many people actually get the rate up as soon as they see a 6-star, right? Makes sense? Half the people are going to immediately get the 6-star on the first 6-star they see. Then, there is a 2% chance that you actually fail 3 different 50-50s in order to maybe reach all the 120. Finally, the 4th one is...
There's a 2% chance you fail 3 50-50s. When my baseline rate of getting a 5-star on a pull is 0.8, I feel like 2% is not even that crazy. The baseline rate of getting a 5-star in this game is 0.8%. And so, you have a higher chance of losing 3 50-50s than getting the 5-star than just getting a 5-star unit on a pull. You have a better chance of losing 3 50-50s in a row than pulling the unit.
The 6-star. It's quite rare
Wow.
that you hit this, but if you do hit this, it's also
That's going to happen to a lot of players. That's going to happen to a lot of players.
very impressive because you got a lot of 6-stars. And as you know, 6-star gives you 2,000 Arsenal tickets. So it's free weapon currency. And maybe it's a potential you want, or maybe if you skip a banner earlier, if you remember the system of Enfield's Gacha, there's a chance that the previous banner characters can still appear in a later banner. So
Okay, so basically, this is like the best way to get weapon pulls is to lose a bunch of 50-50s in a row. And if you're lucky enough to lose a bunch of 50-50s, you'll have an excess number of weapon pulls ready to go. Because, yeah.
maybe you can get...
So I guess you got the nice bonus of not... No, you're still fucked, but at least you get a little bonus after losing 50-50. You get weapon pulls, which I guess can be good. But it's also... you could also just make weapon pulls purchasable with Aura Barrel, too.
Get them. Howsoever it is, there's a 10% chance that you fail 2 50-50s before you get the on banner, and there's a 35% chance that you...
Basically, weapon pulls are like if you could only get weapon pulls in Wuwa using your coral. Imagine if there was an infinite stock of the weapon forging things in the store, but the only way you could get them was with coral.
fail 1, which that is usually the hard pity 80, and then afterwards you clock all the way up to 120. So for the weapon gacha as a free-to-play player, again, this is a distribution. You can see that a lot of people are winning at 40 pools. Take note, you don't do single pools for the weapon banner. You always do it in tens. There is a guarantee system in play also, where you will definitely get the rate up 6-star weapon at 80 pools. So it's a very similar advice to the character banner, which you would want to get at least 80 pools before you actually sink in, right?
80 pulls before you sink in. And going to 120 on a banner gives you 40. If you pity at 120, you're guaranteed a weapon. Oh, but the guy just told me if I go to pity it only gives me 40. Was that right? Let me go see how many weapon pulls were given. Does he show the weapon pulls? 25 to 30 weapon pulls at this amount.
The guarantee, you are expected to get 40 weapon.
Okay, so you're expected to get 40. How did somebody say going to pity once is enough for guaranteed? No. God, no, it's not. No.
Good, more savings for future weapon banners. On average, it will take you 50 pulls to get the on-rate weapon. Okay, 40% of the people are expected to use.
The weapon pity also disappears when the banner resets. So this is another banner where you want to make sure you don't have an excess number left over.
Use the 80 guarantee, and 45% will take 50 or less. Now, an interesting thing to note is that the weapon is a 25% chance to get the on-banner weapon, and then it's 75% chance to get the off-banner.
Yep.
But it's 4% for you to get 6-star weapon. So 25% of 4%, that's 1% chance to get an on-banner weapon. This is actually the exact same rate as getting an Arknight 6-star on-banner. So if you were to do a 6-star graph of Arknights, it's actually going to look very similar to this. A lot of the community are pretty irked by the 25-75, but 1% chance for you to get an on-banner weapon is actually way higher than some of the other gacha games that have weapon banner system.
Technically true, right? It's technically true, but the thing is that it matters how much you have to pull. And that's based off the rates, right? Having low rates on something that costs a lot to pull is pretty shit, right? Having high rates on something that costs a lot to pull isn't as bad. The rates on this aren't particularly good, and, well, just listen to what was said. 120 limited character pulls turns into 40 weapon pulls. So 240 character pulls turns into 80 weapon pulls. You need 80 weapon pulls to guarantee the weapon with the 25-75 and the rates that are out there. So the pulls are clearly, if we're going from a character pull to a weapon pull sort of rebate, well, it's a 1 to 3, right? 3 character pulls spent turns into 1 weapon pull. And yes, you do get weapon pulls for free from the weekly mode and all of that stuff, right? What if the banner's about to end and you're at 70 out of 80? The banner's about to end, the weekly isn't resetting, you're at 70 out of 80. What are you going to do? You're going to go waste 30 pulls, throw them into the abyss, lose 30 out of 120 pity on one of your other banners, or go swipe to go finish it off. Because there's no way to convert your Oro Barrel into weapon pulls. And if there was, it would be better, but that's not the goal of this system.
In any case, to hit 80 weapon pools, the pool economy
and again, I'm just providing the additional details that are going to be relevant in your actual gameplay, because it will happen to you, and there's going to be a decision that you need to make.
Must be pretty good at supplying more ASO tickets to the free-to-play players, so that you don't just rely on character banner pooling. If you get it at 80 pools, you're only using, 25 weapon pools, you're still 55 more away to guarantee that particular weapon. So we need to see how much you actually get weekly, what do events actually give.
Exactly, and that's the important part. You need to know how much is given weekly, how much the events are going to give. But there's always going to be that moment where you're in that gap between the banner resetting and the weekly rewards coming in. There's going to be that gap of time where the only way to get them is by either wasting your pulls or spending money. And that's where they're going to get you with no pity carryover.
And all the other freebies that might happen from time to time. But players must also remember this. Weapon banners don't last for 1 banner anymore. It will last for 3 banner durations. So there will be sufficient time for you to clock up at least 1 signature weapon. And in fact, if you're a free-to-play player in the time span of 3 banners, you not only can easily get 1 signature weapon, you can possibly get out another second signature weapon, but don't expect 3 in a row.
And that's what I was talking about before, right? When I mentioned waiting until the 3rd banner to pull on the weapon to make sure that you can lose, right, to Surtur's or lose to Gilberta's. Maybe Surtur and Gilberta's, or like Gilberta and Yvonne's weapons are available on Surtur's banner. Wouldn't be surprised if they were. And so if you pull on Surtur's banner, you could probably lose pity, lose the 75-25, right? 25-75, lose it to one of their weapons as well. Do you see what's going on here? It's mostly really good for spenders. And like, there's an edge case for free-to-plays to benefit, but it's mostly just amazing for spenders.
Unless you're very lucky, you took very few pulls in the first 2, then maybe on the 3rd, you actually get into the guarantee. That is possible for a free-to-play to see within the game.
Yeah, you can lose your weapon pull on a character you don't want as well. Yeah, you just gotta keep that in mind, right? That can happen too. Yeah, you could get Gilberta and Leviathan's weapon and all you want is Yvonne's.
Okay, now for the...
Not when Yvonne's weapon is on banner, though. And that's what the rate-up is. It's a little... You can't guarantee which weapon you lose to, but there's a chance you can. And that's where the luck comes in.
spicy bit, the comparison to the other games.
Let's
so
see it.
I'm only concerned about 3
Let's see it.
particular titles. I know some people are going to say, what about Uma Musume? What about Stella Sora? But I think most of the players will be coming from those giant titles, right?
Okay, he's looking at and comparing the number of pulls required to get a 5-star unit in each game.
The Hoyoverse series, Wuthering Waves, and I have to say Arknights as well, because this is basically the predecessor.
Yep.
So, again, still at 10,000 experiments, and we're comparing, firstly, the average pulls to first rate up. That's what free-to-play care about. In Arknights, it's the lowest. It's the easiest because it's 2% chance for you to get a 6-star. So 65 rolls on average. Arknights Endfield is 81, 82. Hoyoverse has it at 94.
I think we all understood this. Yeah, Hoyoverse is easily the most.
Thanks to the 0.6 and the high pity counter, Wuthering Waves is actually pretty similar because it's
Oh, he just ruined the entire Arknights Enfield agenda. Oh, he just ruined the entire Enfield shill agenda. Wait, the entire basis of, like, the hyper-grifter argument is that Enfield is actually just cheaper in every way. Is this the part that got fixed? Wait, is this the part that got fixed over here? Wait, are we at the point that got edited? Like, the code and the script? Like, wait, where's the part where he addresses this?
But my code isn't perfect. I really tried to be meticulous about it, and there is someone who pointed out that I made an error, so I thought I'd use this video to say what it is. So the error in my code comes from the fact that Endfield gives you 240 guaranteed, right? Every 240 pulls, you get a potential token. I made a
This is about the dupes. I'm gonna skip this for now. We'll see this in the whaling section, so, yeah, no, I thought that there was an error in the numbers, but what this does is it completely dismantles the entire argument that these grifting shills like Mr. Pokey have been putting forth. Let me actually just go ahead and play for you a section from Pokey's video where I guess he just decides to actively spread unconfirmed information out there, just to shill for this audience. Okay, so here's another CC that is a tourist. It's an Arknights tourist, right? There's another Arknights tourist over here who's latching onto the game to shill for it blindlessly, like a hyper-grifter. This is the hyper-grifter over here saying it's mathematically better. This guy who published his code online, had people fact-check it, has a GitHub, is mathematically telling you Wuthering Waves is actually better. And this is an Arknights CC. This is a, sorry, not this fucking fraud. It's an actual Arknights CC. So that's one guy that's been exposed for spreading misinfo, or really, yeah, I guess it's incorrect information that they didn't fact check or confirm. They just said it was better. Oh, here, what about another one? Is this another hyper grifter? Oh, he responded over here. I got the same kind of comments. Probably because you're saying some retarded shit like the system's mathematically better, even though that's entirely wrong. Yeah, why are you guys surprised you guys are getting these comments? Oh, and here's the last one. Right. We need to get the Mr. Pokey piece out here. Bro decided to get into a whole numbers breakdown of how much things cost. But wait, Woo-Wah's better. But wait, Woo-Wah's less expensive. So this entire thing's just wrong. We got another hyper grifter on the scene talking about how much these things cost, doing comparisons to Wuthering Waves, right? Doing all of this, he got the pull numbers wrong. You can see it over here. He got all the numbers wrong because he didn't do any research. So I guess it's a little bit unfortunate that all of these narratives, all of these attempts by all these hyper-grifting CCs to say that this gacha system is literally better than others when it's not, that's kind of crazy. Because Wuthering Waves, on average, takes a lower number of pulls to guarantee the on-banner unit. Wuthering Waves, on average, has a lower number of pulls for the character. Wow.
The same drop rate, right? 0.8 for both games. They can shake hands on that. It's about 80 in this case. 5th percentile.
Because remember, guys, this just means Wuthering Waves has A, a lower number of pulls, B, pity carryover, and C, a guaranteed weapon banner. It has all three of those things. And these guys are saying, on the dupe shop, I forgot, you buy dupes from the Coral shop for the low exchange of 45 pulls for one dupe. The equivalent of 45 pulls in Corals equals one dupe. I forgot about that. Yeah, you can just buy S2 from the store as well. But hey, guys.
Mathematically, it's better. Oh my god, I can't believe all these guys are saying I'm not honest. Oh my lord, why are they saying I'm not honest? Maybe it's because I'm lying.
It's just insane that these hyper-grifting CCs that are out here Defending Endfield tooth and nail got proven wrong by an Endfield CC. Imagine that you got sabotaged, your misinformation got exposed by somebody who you thought was on your side.
Oh, doesn't matter. This is about getting lucky with
That's what happens to rats, I guess. Unfortunate fate.
that drop chance. And then 95th percentile, this is the important one because this is the far end of players. If you're unlucky to get it on the first particular drop, what happens later on?
This is my take. I think that talking about the most unlucky scenario and counts a number of pulls is a bit of an illegitimate conversation if it's not compared with the unlucky on the low end side. Because you want to know what unlucky on the low end side is? I get an early in Wuthering Genshin, but it's a 50-50 loss. You get an early in this game, it's useless if it's a 50-50 loss. It actually doesn't mean anything. It's like if you get on pull 1 out of 120, you get a off-banner 6-star. You feel like you actually lost progress. Because, like, actually imagine that you're like 20 out of 80 on the banner, but 0 out of 120. If you threw a 10 pull at it and you got an off-banner 6-star, you would just be at 9 out of 80 and then 10 out of 120. I'd feel like I went backwards. Legitimately, I feel like I was going backwards because at least when I was building up to the 80, I'd have a chance of like winning the 50-50. Now that I lost it early, the next time I build up to 80, I can just lose it again. And that's what I mean by that is the actual, like, the worst best case, right? Where if we're going to talk about, oh, it's great, right? Because you can only go up to 120. Well, great. When I would have gotten the 5-star unit immediately in these other games, I'm still going to 120 in Arknights. Because guess what? You can lose pity. You can lose the 50-50 at 1 out of 120, and then you can lose it again at 81 out of 120. That cannot happen to you. You would have gotten in Genshin or Wuwa, you would have gotten the on-banner unit in 10 pulls. In this game, you're forced to go to 120 for it. And that's what I mean by looking at the worst case, and you got to talk about like the best worst case too in Endfield, because there's a lot of room to get fucked if you lose 50-50s.
So if you notice, Arknights actually has it kind of the worst because it's really far into.
Check out the comment. Bragg said 33% better. I don't see a 33%. I don't see a 33%. The worst case is 33% better than other gachas out there at the moment. Okay, he's not wrong here. Because they're talking about literally going up to 120. But this is my take once again. If you're going to talk about the worst case scenario, you also got to talk about the worst best case scenario as well. Because the thing that makes this game's worst case scenario better than others is the same thing that makes its worst best case dog shit compared to them. Because people are saying the pity carryover or lack thereof is the reason why it's a 120 pity. Well, think about it this way. That lack of pity carryover or the reason why it's 120 is the reason why you can lose so much even if you get earlies.
This is on the number of pools. This is only comparing standard banner of Arknights, by the way. If you're talking about limited banner, this could be even worse. But 164. Then for Hoyoverse, it's lower because of the fact that there's the 50-50 loss,
yep.
right? Even if you go to max pity, and then next one you also max pity, you know for sure that you're going to get that character.
And the crazy thing is, guys, I don't even think 139 is so much better than, or I don't think 120 is that much better than 139. I'd rather take 139. I'd rather take 150 with a pity carryover than 120 without. Hey, maybe I'm just a retard, bro. I'd rather have 150 with pity carryover than 120 without. And guess what? We're getting better than 150. We're getting better than 150. No wonder. You know what? All this video has done is show me why nobody ever complains about Wuwa's gacha system. All this video has done is just increase the PR of Wuthering Waves through the fucking roof. Good lord. Because everyone that agreed to 150, right, and pity carryover, you already are getting better than that. You get 140 with pity carryover, essentially. Because remember, this is the worst case scenario, and our worst case scenario is 140 with pity carryover and a lower number of pulls to the first rate up on average. Remember, guys, though. Remember, Mr. Pokey's going to be the same dude. Made a mockery of Wuwa's gacha system. Easy to make a mockery, I guess, of the gacha systems when it's clear you don't play the games, bro.
The actual game of the year, Wuthering Waves, right? We all know where that's going to be the best game, and they will convert the Wuthering Waves players to Arknight players because he wants to ruin Wuthering Waves because he is paid off by Hyperglyph.
Bro, this guy's like out, like, look at this, bro.
Some nasty predatory shit. Because if you have nothing to hide, why make it yet? Why can't you just summarize it in 5 seconds like in Wuthering Waves? And on top of that, this game literally costs 5,000 premium currency.
Like, wow. Like, guys, this is the level of defense people are doing to try to say that Arknights and its 120 are just so much. Bro, this is the craziest expose in a while. This is the craziest expose in a while. Careers are going to be ruined because of this.
Same for Wuthering Waves. So 158, 139. This is your worst case scenario. 120 is the worst case scenario in Endfield.
And you want to know what the craziest thing is? I don't think Endfield is going to be as generous as Wuwa when it comes to the pulls.
It's capped. The game has basically told you this is the number of pulls you need to get at least 1 copy. So Enfield's gacha is similar to Wuthering Waves due to similar drop rates. By the way,
Enfield's gacha has the same number as Wuwa's, but has no pity carryover.
I don't think this number is supposed to be lower than this. It's again because Wuthering Waves doesn't expose how the pity ramp up works, and I can only make the prediction that it's going to be equivalent until 100% at the end. But it should be about the same, nonetheless. Hoyoverse, however, is definitely the most expensive for a free-to-play player, based on the number of pools alone.
Yep.
So, Enfield will need more pools than Arknights. Arknights kind of looks worse, although a lot of people will tell you, no, Arknights is pretty good, because when you get an off-banner, there's a chance that it's a new 6-star, which all the other gacha games have the system where they're all limited characters. So when you get an off-banner, it's a boring standard 6-star for you to get.
Yep.
Enfield at least has a system where the previous 2 banners still appear in the later one, so you have a chance to obtain them when you obtain a off-banner. But not as great as Arknights. Still, however, if you care only about getting the on-banner specific character, then Arknights definitely appears the worst. Enfield definitely has a better protection system in terms of the maximum cap compared to Arknights, Wuthering Waves, and definitely Hoyoverse.
But once again, if I could have 120 without pity carryover or 140 with it, I'll always choose 140 with it, no matter what. Like, you could, like, and I think if you're choosing the 120, I think there's something wrong with you.
120 pools. There is another argument in play, which is Enfield has no 50-50 carry forward. So you get a lot of the people from those other games saying, there's no flexibility, right? I pull on a certain banner, I didn't come in with enough pools, right? I'm just trying my luck to see if I'll get this on-banner person. And if I fail, then the next banner, I'm spending less pools to get that specific character after all.
Yep, you can basically decide to go up to pity, see if you win or lose, and if you lose, you have a guarantee, you know that your next 5-star unit, you will get the on-banner one within 80 pulls. You know.
Oh, that can be said to be true, but if you look across 2 banners, it doesn't quite change the fact that you only got 1 rate-up unit after all. It's just a matter of which one that you get.
It's just you are now basically in a pity system with carry forward. You remember those 55% rates we were looking at up here? You would be able to, without any risk at all, take on a 55-45 chance of getting the unit. That is what pity carry forward literally lets you do here. You are able to take on this 55% chance of getting the unit consolidated. Remember, within 80 pulls, that's above 50%. And so with pity carry forward, you get to risk that 50%, 55% every time, but there's no risk because you don't lose anything if you lose. But in this game, you lose all of those pulls on the way to 120. You lose all 80 of them. And so you have this guy over here literally telling you what the benefits are of pity carry forward. A guy who doesn't play games, or at least actively play them, right, with pity carry forward. He's telling you what all the clear benefits are, and, you know, looking at the rest of his video, or the previous part of his video, we see that there's even, like, mathematical benefits to it, too. Let's see what a hyper grifter says regarding pity carry forward. Let's pretend that Kuki Kaze has no idea what he's talking about, right? But we want to listen to Mr. Pokey. Let's see his take on pity carry forward. Pity carry forward itself actually changes nothing. It's just a psychological hook to get you thinking building pity is beneficial, when statistically, you will still take the exact same number of pulls. So now, being able to take on a risk-free 55% chance of getting the unit changes nothing. A risk-free, no loss at all, you just get to roll, you just get to flip a coin and see if you get the unit or not. That's pity carryover. And this guy's telling you, yeah, that free 55% gamble with no loss at all, nothing you can lose from it, doesn't mean anything. It's useless. It's so crazy once again that the Arknight CC is the one destroying these narratives.
star, which all the other gacha games have the system where they're all limited characters. So when you get previous two banners still appear in the later off banner, but not as great as Arknights.
Okay, we're ready.
Still, however, if you care only about getting the on-banner specific character, then Arknights definitely appears the worst. Endfield definitely has a better protection system in terms of the maximum cap compared to Arknights, Wuthering Waves, and definitely Hoyoverse. 120 pools. There is another argument in play, which
Okay. We're starting off from here now. This was the exact point.
50-50 carry forward. So you get a lot of the people from those other games saying, there's no flexibility, right? I pull on a certain banner, I didn't come in with enough pools, right? I'm just trying my luck to see if I'll get this on-banner person.
With that 55 we just saw.
And if I fail, then the next banner, I'm spending less pools to get that specific character after all. That can be said to be true, but if you look across two banners, it doesn't quite change the fact that you only got one rate-up unit after all.
And that is a fact. You only got one, but you had a risk-free opportunity to get a second.
It's just a matter of which one that you get. Yes, you have the flexibility, but Endfield is trying to say to you, don't just half-ass a banner, right? If you want to pool on it, make sure you got enough pools first. Then we'll make sure you have the guarantee, and you are using less pools as well. There are times also that you aren't exactly skipping an on-banner unit in maybe a Hoyoverse game. Like for example, if you really like Sparksy, right? You see a banner, you have no pity build-up. You lose the first 50-50, you aren't going to tell yourself, okay, I guess I'll skip. But you really wanted the character. You're going to go all the way, there's a chance that you're spending way more pools.
Yeah, but you know what? I get the decision to say I'm skipping. I get the decision to back out, which a lot of people, just think about the word investment. If you tell any financial expert, hey, I have an investment idea for you, by the way, there's no way to back out of it, what would they say? You better make sure it's successful or I'm not getting into it, right? You better make sure it pans out or I'm good. I'm not getting into it. Holy, what's this? We'll see how this pans out in the future. Don't worry, boys.
That's basically what is happening over here with Endfield, the security that it gives.
Yep.
It's a change in culture for a lot of people coming from the other games that you'll have to get used to it.
Absolutely.
It's similar to what happens in Arknights. We also save banners, we skip on banners, we don't say, I'm just going to try a little bit, and then
Guys, think about it this way. Hoyo's old system, in a sense, lets you basically, whenever you go to a grocery store or a gas station, you could just get a scratcher for free. You could get a scratcher for free for the lottery, whatever, the winnings. No actual cost for doing it. And this game basically just takes it and throws that scratcher away, right? But then says, hey, everything's like, well, in Wuwa's case, everything's 10% off, but you don't get that free scratcher anymore. I think I'd go back to the old store.
afterwards I dip out. So get used to that. By the way, this is not to say that people save 150 into a banner sometimes. I still have Arknights players who tell me, I'm just going to pull in 20, I'm going to pull in 10, I want to try my luck. And they love building up that pity of the 6-star until finally they win one on banner one day.
They're going to quit the game.
Do that in Endfield also, right? You just keep trying a little bit every single few banner until you see, oh, it's a new
You're going to quit the game if you do that.
character. Up to you how you want to play the game with this kind of system.
He's saying you're going to quit the game if you do that.
Okay, big
I love how he just says up to you, you stupid. You already know he's calling him a fucking idiot in his head.
important thing. The comparison of the gacha games being better than another definitely hinges on the pool economy. So,
Yep.
this graphic over here, you can only best see it by imagining a person who has 0 pools, a free-to-play player, and you assume that every single gacha game
Arknights' beta for the game that's coming out later, it had 135 pulls. So do keep that in mind. The entire 1.0 beta had 130. That includes all the exploration, all the end game, all the resetting content in that span of time. 135 pulls.
give you the same amount of free pools, so maybe 80 per patch. In that case, you can then see which one may be better, which one's more comfortable. But every different gacha game will give different amount of free pools. So
Some CCs did all the content in the game and could only get 120 pulls by the very end of the beta.
that's what we're looking for when looking at Endfield, right? If you say everyone has the same, then Endfield looks like it's going to be a better gacha game than even Arknights. Unless you hate Weapon Banner, then of course it's not better than Arknights. Arknights will be superior as a one-banner system. If Endfield is more generous than the competition, then the gacha aspect will be even nicer for a free-to-play. If it is stingier, however, and it starts matching into the competition, it can be worse.
And that's what it all hinges on. And so, some people have been saying it's 250 limited pulls floating around. Some people have been saying it's 135 limited pulls floating around. I've seen 170. And let me just say, going from 135 in the beta to 250 plus on release would be insane, if true. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. We'll just have to see, though.
Then now for the weapon banner.
Wuwa was 254 limited pulls in 1.0? No way. It wasn't 254 limited pulls. It might have been 254 total pulls, but not limited.
For free-to-play in Endfield, it's going to take 52 pulls on average. But problem, Endfield doesn't let you do single pulls. It's actually in sets of 10s. So this will round up to 60. That's the actual average.
So weapon pulls also cost less in Wuwa? Oh, so it's just better across the board in Wuwa too.
Number of pulls required. For Genshin is a system where there's 2 rated
Because remember, guys, 3 character pulls equals 1 weapon pull.
weapons. And then if you lose on the selected rated weapon, then you can get the later one. On average, it's 88 pulls. Honkai Star Rail has it at 70. Wuthering Waves has it about the same as Arknight's Endfield, if it's not for the fact that you have to round this up.
Yep.
In
you
terms of
don't
the
need to round up
percentile,
here.
it's going to be all about the same. It's just, get lucky. For the 95 percentile, meaning really unlucky situations, it is capped at 80 for Arknight's Endfield, right? Because that's when they give you the guarantee. For Genshin, it's 140. For Honkai Star Rail, it's 138.
The best case scenario for Wuba is just a temp. You just get it in a temple.
Might as well be 140. And for Uwa, it's going to be 72. So Wuthering Waves definitely seems to have the most approachable weapon, depending on how much free pulls they actually give.
How embarrassing is this, bro? I am so sorry. These guys were like so confident talking about this, and this is the thing. This is the only edge this thing has, bro. All these guys can talk about is like this fucking 120. Oh, 120 worst case scenario, bro. It's still worse than Wuthering Waves in virtually every fucking way. Like, Jesus Christ, guys. Like, why do you keep trying to say it's better? Stop trying to say it's better. Why? Why keep doing it? It's so lost. What else? It's a limited 254? No way. Oh. So the release version of Wuwa just gave out 250. All right, so I guess this is the thing, right? Well, now you know what to compare it to when Endfield comes out. You got 254 from Wuwa. And so basically that means, according to the data, it's around an 80 for the 5-star. So this is enough for 3 on-banner characters going by the average. On average, 1.0 gave you enough pulls for 2 on-banner characters and 2 weapons. Sorry, it's like 3 on-banner characters and 2 weapons. I don't even, fuck it. It's like 2 on-banner characters and 3 weapons. Maybe 4. Who fucking knows, right? Basically, this is telling you, if you played 1.0, you could get Jian, Yinlin, and their signatures, and you'd have some left over on average. Jian, Yinlin, and their signatures, and have some left over. That was actually the amount for the average player. Yeah, that means you got everything in the patch. That literally means you got everything in the patch. And again, that's going by these numbers that I'm seeing over here. And everyone's verified the code. The only thing that's wrong is about dupes.
In truth, it should be matching Wuthering Waves or be.
And remember, this guy's a fucking programmer, and he had other fucking nerd programmers review that shit. I'm gonna trust the nerds, bro. Because they're nerds.
Even better, because we're looking at a 1% drop rate versus a 0.8%. But they just both behave about the same. Hoyo titles, definitely a lot more costly for a free-to-play.
Yeah, because you have a 75-25.
Also, consider the fact that Endfield is using a separate currency for weapons. Wuthering Waves kinda does it. It's half-half because you sometimes still use the same currency, right? You split it into a character currency and a weapon currency.
But then you get 7 free every version. So there's a lot of people that have gotten... If you're a day 1 player, you have to have gotten a free weapon by now.
Sometimes they give that amount of pools for free. But for the other titles, it's purely sharing the same pool currency. So it will hit the point where for a lot of people, sometimes they don't even consider pooling on the weapons.
And this is the thing, guys. You also have to factor in, you will get earlies in Wuwa. And you will get earlies on the weapon banner. And earlies on the weapon banner are just, you're out there. There are tons of people that throw 20 pulls at a weapon, get it, and they're just like, all right, peace. You'll lose 25-75s in this game. Even if you get earlies. And it's basically the same rate as Wuwa, right? 1% to 0.8. Guys, Wuwa is 0.8. This is more like for the on-banner weapon, though, 0.25%. Okay? So, Endfield is really 0.25% versus 0.8. Because you have a 25-75 to get the on-rate weapon.
At all. But Endfield using a separate weapon currency could make it good for a free-to-play. It does just depend on...
It's the psychological aspect. You can't... Oh, true. Guys... Do you know how many people have just thrown in 30 weapon pulls at a banner to build pity, and then they actually get it, and they're like, holy shit, fuck yeah. You can't do that in this game either. I forgot. Right, you just can't do that in this game too. So rule out Think about it this way, guys. You can't get an early unless you try. And there's going to be a lot of earlies that never get gotten because you can't actually try. Holy moly, that's another massive element. People, every time you think about early 5 stars or early weapons or any of this stuff, right? To get an early, you have to pull early. And a lot of earlies, right? A lot of potential early pulls, they'll just basically be aborted because you would have done it in other games and gotten it, but you just never even tried in this one because there's so much to lose. So that's just going to be another way this no pity carryover fucks you.
How many free pulls they give weekly or monthly. And remember, as I've emphasized, the other game's weapon banners will usually only last for 1 banner duration. Endfield has chosen a 3 banner duration approach.
That's true. You have the chance of, when you lose on a weapon banner, getting one of the old weapons, but I wouldn't use that as a reliable way to get the older weapons.
A lot more time for you to get the signature weapon that you want for a character. We're wrapping up the free-to-play discussion, and a bit of a summary.
So this is my take. I will not view, if we're doing a comparison here, right? I will never view the weapons staying on banner in the 50-50 loss pool as a positive because that is a concession made because of the lack of pity carryover. And the lack of pity carryover is so much more destructive to the gacha system than the benefits brought by adding older limited weapons to the loss pool. The damage from lack of pity carryover is so much higher than the reparations brought from the add-on to the loss pool. I'm not going to factor it in particularly highly. I don't consider it much of a win.
Free-to-play players probably have it better.
Yeah, this is like getting your arm chopped off and then on your bandage, the doctor puts a Hello Kitty sticker. It's I hope you like that. It's I do, but I got you know how it is, right?
Endfield. It does still matter just how many free pulls you get every week, every month. We're looking forward to seeing that when the game releases, and then we'll figure out if Endfield Gacha is actually nicer than the other counterparts.
And that's the thing. It's really based off the system, right? But to be immediately defensive for the system, like these hyper-grifting fools, to be this defensive for it without knowing the numbers, and then outright saying it's better than other systems without knowing the numbers, well, isn't that just grifting?
Let's go on to the pay-to-play now. Look at this pay-to-play graph. It is so absurd, and I'll show you why when you
I'm not going to bother with this one. This is my take. I don't really care too much about, the whale situations and all of that, and I don't care that he kind of, messed up the calculation. My take is nobody should be whaling on this game because the devs don't deserve it with the way that it's monetized. So I'm not even going to entertain the whale part of the equation. I know this might piss some people off, but just for the sake of clarity, it's not even a topic I want to explore. Yeah, we'll just do free to play only because that's the way we're going to be playing the game. All right, let's close this one out.
This is what it looks like in Wuthering Waves or in Hoyoverse. And you see how the scatter plot is literally everywhere because that's how it is, right? There's no guarantee systems that's in play. You lose 50-50 a bunch of times, but you don't actually know a definitive number of when. You can judge based on the average, you can judge based on where the peak is. Like for the case of Wuwa, it's about 400. For the case of Hoyoverse titles, it's got to be 650, which is pretty high.
Yeah.
But there's a huge range beyond it as well, which
400 for Wuwa to get 7 characters.
means that there's a chance you maybe save a bunch of money.
7 on rates takes 400 average.
So on to the last section, the comparison of the other games for a pay-to-play. So
oh, okay. Well, I guess that's what. Oh, it was looking at Okay, I think this is just more C6 stuff. Okay, wait, I'm good. I can just skip all this. Okay, well, let's just look at the summary. Yeah, that's okay. That's a good example of why we're skipping it. Is that fair? Is that a good example of why we're skipping it? They're talking about pulling 400 times on one fucking banner. I'm good, bro. I don't need to see that.
In the game. So this is a
I don't
little
need
bit
to
more
see that.
applicable to my Arknights players, but it seems like the monetization, they're going to quite mimic what happens in AK.
But good to know, Wuwa's 200 pulls cheaper than Genshin.
Like for example, the monthly card is still giving 10 free pulls with a bunch of sanity pack and OP as well.
Okay, he's talking about the
and
store
then
and the
there is
shop.
also going to be familiar packs. There's a battle pass in the game, by the way, because they decided to do that, give you more things that you have to do in the game, get those rewards, get weapons as well.
He does not like the battle pass. Bro, he just said, well, they decided to do that.
Well, and this stuff that you see over here, right?
I love that you can tell when this guy thinks, the guy he's mentioning is stupid or that the feature's bad. I love how it's super obvious when he doesn't like something.
We are familiar with tons of wonderful packs that Arknights choose to sell. It always put things bundled up together at a cheaper price, whether is it to put pools or promotion materials, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
If these are sold at good prices and they're approachable, they're gonna be tempting for both whalers who are trying to max potential, or even for the dolphins, the small.
This is my take. Arknights Endfield is one of the most predatory games ever from the perspective of a dolphin or a low spender. The game has so many like frequent breakpoints where if you go a little bit further, you get like some type of reward, but it automatically starts you off like somewhere in the middle of the transaction for like everything. And so you're constantly incentivized to add on just a little bit more into your basket to reach that next threshold. And there's just always like something, another building block where it's like $5 more, $10 more, 5 more, 15 here, maybe. Oh, but if I get this $25 one, I'll be able to skip 2 steps, right? This is going to be like the low spender hell. And the idea is that they're going to extract from you, right? $10, then 20. By the end of the month, you'll have spent like 200, but only think you'll have spent like 20. Because there's just so many different breakpoints, always something to like keep pushing forward to on the next one. It's kind of obvious, right? When you see how how everything in the game is linked together. The currency tied to the pulls tied to the weapon pulls, and then there being the 30 checker, then the 60 checker, but then you get the 5 free pulls, every single new banner.
Spenders, right? We'd like to spend a little bit on these packs to help us to top up just that little bit of pool just left.
Yep.
And also, Origin
Yeah, he even talks about it here. That's why I love the honesty. Top up that little bit just to get those last 2 steps, right? Don't want to lose the whole 120.
It's possible for you to buy. All these stuff here are not fixed prices yet. We can only see upon launch, and I'll be looking forward to them. Will I be spending in the game? I would if they are actually proving to be of good value. Just like in Arknights, I don't spend heavily on Arknights for those of you who didn't know how I stream. I don't even chase for potentials. I always believe in just getting one copy of a character. I'm very happy with it, but I like to...
We need to see what this guy's take is on the free-to-play economy. I hope he actually takes this in a very, like, sort of, like, budget way. I want to see that. I would love to see it, and I'd love to see what his take is following this. Because, guys, I think we can unilaterally agree in this conversation. There are a lot of creators that don't want to view this with a objective lens, right? They don't want to view it from an objective lens. I will consider myself a creator that's always going to have a negative bias towards this because I have an unconquerable bias against a gacha system where you can lose $200+ and get nothing back in return. That is a non-negotiable for me. I will never like a system, and I'll never say a system is good if that element is in it. That's been my stance since over... Let's see how long that's been my stance, just so you all know the level of consistency I have. The worst gacha and gacha game a year ago. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it does appear that there's been some very interesting and frankly kind of bad news when it comes to the Arknights Endfield beta, specifically its closed beta and the gacha system that it provides. I realized my editors did way more cuts back then, and that's why they took way fucking longer with the videos. I'm personally not going to be creating any Arknights Endfield actual in-game content based off of the fact that I didn't actually apply to the beta test. What's this most replayed part? Ladies and gentlemen, can be an absolute nightmare. What this means is that if you pull 10 times, right, using a 10 pull, and you get an early 6-star, and it's not the on-banner character, your next one isn't guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. You'll still have to go all the way up to 120 pulls. Oh, and then I talk about losing 50-50 multiple times, and I guess a lot of people cared about that as well. It's the same exact. You can double check this yourself if you fucking want. I don't care. I don't have anything to hide. I'm like certain CCs. Anyways, I don't have anything to hide. And so the end result is I have a negative bias towards the system. I've shown you why. There's a reason for it. It's because it has something that's an automatic, non-negotiable loss for me. But other creators, you could see how obvious it is where their agenda is coming from. They view this game as like the fucking life-saving mana, right? That's gonna like sustain their channel and make it seem like their career is like, I don't know, going down the right path. And I think the real concern is the fact that these guys are just openly lying to their audience or just confidently saying all of these things that aren't even close to factually proven just to shill for a company. And the number of people that have done this and completely thrown away all of their morals, when you have so many examples of creators in the space who are able to make, I'll list them right here, This is what you call somebody who might be on contract, who might not be, that is able to give a balanced take on it. Look here. No pity carry. More control over polls plans, the better. Less control equals more FOMO, more predator. It's right there in his video. He's critiquing the system and saying what's wrong with pity carryover. Compare that to this dipshit. This guy just says, no, that thing, it doesn't matter. I think somebody said that his overall take is that he thinks it's better. Again, that is technically a factually true statement. If the main focus of it is you saying the worst case scenario is always better, that is technically a factual statement because it's 120 versus 160 or 180, right? And I don't know the extent of how he's saying it's better. And I'm pretty sure he's not saying it's unilaterally better in every respect. But this is the thing. Everyone's like very delicate with like the wording and stuff nowadays. I'm not going to be going ahead and assuming that he just means unilaterally. But that's what it means, right? He's still taking a balanced approach as he gets to that conclusion. And that's the point. At least he took a balanced approach getting to that conclusion rather than just lying to his entire audience on the way there. Is that a fair statement to make?
To build as many characters as possible. That's what I want to see myself enjoying in Endfield. So, Arknight's Endfield Gacha on paper should provide a better experience for free-to-play, and particularly for people who have patience to not pull on every banner and at least plan their pulls.
I'd be on the lookout for this one. And I think Kukikaze is unfortunately missing a critical component of, well, the game. And that's the start. If you cannot build pity, or honestly just pull on a limited banner at the start of the game, that's a massive number of characters, resources, stuff like that you're just not going to get. And so if you're a free-to-play player that's actually looking to have the best experience, that involves you not pulling on anything at the start of the game, which is an awful way to start the game. Because, well, how do you get resources and character dupes for your 3 and 4 and 5-star units? You pull on the banners to get those, and you can't pull on anything if you're in this system. Do you see? So I think maybe he's looking at it from like the 3 months in. Sure, maybe the free-to-play experience is better. Depends on the numbers and everything, right? But the sheer nature of a no pity carry forward system, 70-day banners, 120 pity counts as well, means at the start of the game, you are either re-rolling or pulling. Sorry, you're either re-rolling and pulling, or you're waiting until Yvonne's banner to pull on anything. And what does that mean for your resources as a free-to-play? You don't have very many.
While having a similar pay-to-play experience as Wuthering Waves.
Okay.
For it to exceed the other games, or even its predecessor being Arknights, it will need to have a more generous pool economy and better incentivizing payments. The gacha could, however, still be worse, but it's going to take a stretch for it to be worse than the Hoyoverse titles.
I love that ending. So basically, it's like the gacha could be dog shit, but it's got to be really fucking bad to be worse than Hoyo. Hey, I think that's fair. So basically, this gacha system, obviously, I think everyone knew this, heavily hinges on the amount of resources you're actually getting in-game. And that's really going to be the true determinator of it. Because pull-wise and number of pulls-wise on both the character and the weapon banner, it's not like it's particularly better. And the only real advantage it has is in the worst-case scenario, right, where you get to the full 120 cap. However, everyone glazes this 120 cap like crazy. Let's also recognize there's an awful best-case scenario, too. In other games, you could throw 2 pulls at a banner and lose 50-50, then get the on-banner character. In this game, you can lose an infinite number of 50-50s. And so if we're going to talk about the best worst case, we got to talk about the worst best case. Because all the conversation, guys, what has it been focused on? Look at what Mr. Jokey, Hyper Grifter, ends his tweet with. He only focuses on the worst case scenario. Sorry, the best worst case scenario. But you never focus on the worst best case scenario. And that's what being balanced is all about. And I think Kukikaze did a great job of it here with this one. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.